Imagine, as in Plato's Allegory of the Cave, you are trapped. But not in the physical sense, rather the emotional sense. You are trapped not in the literal cave, but in your mind, which conveys to you an untrue belief regarding your self-worth. Ignorance surrounds you, as symbolized by darkness, and the false projections of your self-image is your entire reality.
This false reality is experienced by many people throughout their lifetime, oftentimes whether they know it or not. These oppressed people can range from women to children to anyone who believes they do not fit society's expectation of what is ideal. They are manipulated to believe the treatment of being unworthy is what they deserve, and in turn believe that they are unworthy.
Picture this, a child.
And now her parents.
Now see her being told she has done something wrong, and she has never done anything right to begin with.
Would that child not think that they are worthless? After having done nothing correct in the eyes of her parents, whom she longs to please, due to society's standards of perfection and the uncontrollable desire for perfection to be achieved?
She would believe this treatment is what she deserves, that this verbal abuse is necessary to remind her she is worthless, because she slowly grows to believe that she is.
Now picture her older.
She has a boyfriend or girlfriend or any group of friends.
See them yell, scream, and take all of their frustrations out on her. Would she not then believe she deserves this type of treatment? That she deserves to be told she is worthless because deep down she has grown to believe it is true? After all, she has grown up with this type of treatment from her parents, and in a society where the parents are given the authority to raise a child according to how they see fit, and are deemed as correct in their way of doing so, she would believe them to be right. She is worthless.
They must feel worthless like me. This is why they are saying those things, doing those things. They really don't feel that way about me, she thought. This is what she believes.
But she is wrong. In all reality, studies have shown that people who bully and abuse others ultimately have a higher sense of self-esteem and are narcissistic as opposed to being subjected to the type of treatment she has been.
Now imagine her school has a program, one to improve self-esteem and give kids and teenagers a sense of self-confidence.
They tell her she is pretty, beautiful even, and that she can accomplish anything she sets her mind to, that she is special, extraordinary, to boost her self-confidence.
Would she believe them after hearing this for the first time in her life? No. Her entire foundation of beliefs that she is worthless is challenged, and she cannot believe it. Her entire life she has been put down verbally and physically, believing that this is her punishment for being a horrible person, that she deserves this type of abusive treatment. She might think they had a point at first, but if they called everyone special and extraordinary, she would start to wonder how everyone could be all of those things.
If everyone is special, she would wonder, how am I any different? I'm not, she would think.
She would be so sure of herself, so confident in her worthlessness, that it would cause her to become less confident in everyday activities.
As her grades and extracurricular activities dropped, her belief in her abilities and self would as well.
And why wouldn't these things drop? If she truly believes she has never done anything correctly, and never will in a society where perfection is strived for constantly, then how would that change? And why would it when she doesn't believe in herself? She grew up facing this type of abuse and has continued to in her teenage years.
But does this lack of self-confidence only apply to children? No, it transcends age and maturity. Imagine the same girl grown into a woman. She is able to understand her insecurity that stemmed from an abusive history, yet still struggles to accept herself due to the negative effect it has taken on her self-esteem. Although she may have once believed in herself, she resists the enlightenment through self-doubt and self-hatred.
This inequality does not only affect her, but globally, many heterosexual women as well. Statistically, in over 48 countries, men have much higher self-esteem than women do. Women's fears often prohibit them from achieving success in the workplace and personal life due to doubting themselves. Men are more likely to hold positions of leadership, including CEOs and executives, and achieve success, which women may view as superior to their own. The media portrays the successful and happy woman too often as thin, beautiful, and a person who appeals to men. As a result, many women are left in the shadows and seeking male validation for self-confidence.
The idea of a heterosexual woman's entire self-confidence based on a man's opinion of her, or how her success compares to that of a man, is obviously flawed. Not all men will respect her, and not all successes between the two can be compared accurately. Through letting men control her self-worth, the woman is not truly confident, and lives a life attempting to please and measure up to a man. She lives in the shadows and is resistant to be enlightened in establishing her own self-worth for the fear of rejection.
Now picture this woman, middle-aged, older, walking down the street. She's never married, believing she wasn't good enough to receive another's love. Her friends are limited. She rarely goes out anymore. She has a job she does not excel in with meager pay, leaving the people she believes are more qualified than her to do her job, thinking she can never achieve their level of success because she is worthless and would not deserve it.
While walking down the street where she lives, she sees a child pick a flower from the garden and hand it to her mother. "Mommy, Mommy, look! I brought you a flower," the girl says. The woman smiles to herself. She sees that the little girl is trying to please her mother.
Then she sees the little girl fall to the ground and trip, scraping her knee and getting blood on the dress she wore.
Her mother looks appalled and disgusted. The woman watches and she begins to scream at her child. "Stupid girl! Why'd you have to go and ruin your new dress by falling? Can't you ever do anything right? You tripped and fell, ruining the new dress I bought you, all over a dumb flower." She sees the woman backhand the young child.
The woman watches as the child trembles before her mother and cries out in pain. The words, "Can't you do anything right?" shock the woman to her core, reminding her of the things her own parents used to say to her. How could a mother be so cruel to her child, the woman thought. Then she had the realization. How could my parents be so cruel to me?
She didn't deserve such a horrible treatment. Then the realization struck again, as sharp as her mother's backhand had been. I don't deserve this. No one deserves this. No one, no matter what, deserves this kind of cruel treatment.
Slowly, the woman tore her eyes from the scene of the mother and the child and began to look around. All around her, she saw elements of her own life through other people. A teenage girl was walking with a boy, and they were holding hands. She bumped into another boy looking similar in age and apologized.
The boy was swearing at the girl, calling her a slut and various other names as the woman saw herself being told the same things and believing them. She thought she was worthless, wasn't she? But if she was the same as those two women she saw on the street, wasn't she being treated unfairly? She was. It was wrong. Everything she had ever been told about herself, everything she had ever believed about herself, it was wrong. She was worth something. She was important.
She looked back on all of her past friendships and relationships, and only one thought entered her mind. What was I doing? Why did I believe them? She wondered.
And then she realized that those thoughts were all she's ever known. She was told she was worthless, so she believed she was worthless. But just because she was told she was worthless did not mean that she actually was.
She stood in a single spot as the world seemed to circle around her. Every negative thought, every insult, every time she thought she wasn't good enough for that job, for that guy, every time she told herself she wasn't worthy of somebody's attention, it was all because of the emotional abuse she underwent.
Snapping out of her realization, she heard the teenage boy shout, "That's it, we're done. You can go off with him for all I care. You never meant anything to me anyway. It will be easy to replace you. You were never good enough for me." She saw the teenage girl chase after him, only to have him hit her and push her away. This occurred multiple times until she took a blow to the face that struck her down.
He's wrong, thought the woman. It's not her who is not good enough for you, but rather you who are not good enough for her. You've abused her, both physically and psychologically. She shouldn't have to put up with someone like that.
The woman knew what she had to do. What good was it to realize her own self-worth if she couldn't help others? She walked over to the teenage girl who was now quietly crying on a bench. "Hey," she softly said, "I know how you feel, but you aren't worthless."
The teenage girl scoffed. "Yeah, right. He was the best thing I ever had," she weeps. The woman tries to console her repeatedly, telling her that he is the one who's worthless for not seeing her worth, but the girl shrugs it off. "Just leave me alone," the girl says, and walks away.
The woman was stunned. How could someone not see that this type of thinking was unhealthy? How could I have not seen this type of thinking was unhealthy, she realizes. As the woman watched the world go on before her eyes, with a little bit of herself in every situation, she realized that coming to terms with her reality was her personal revelation. She remembered the programs her school had for improving self-esteem and how she blatantly ignored the uplifting things her teachers had told her because she didn't believe in them herself.
She realized that no one else could tell her to be confident. She just either was or wasn't. She had to realize the expectations placed upon her and learn to trust her own opinion of herself, not others' opinions of her. From that day on, she realized that she had the duty to improve not only her self-esteem, but to help others as well.
Now, picture that same woman a decade later. She has a new job, runs her own business, and works as a counselor to help people with low self-esteem. She's married now and even has 2 kids. She has a fun hobby too, art. It's something she can express herself in and feels confident about. She thinks she is good at it, and so do others. And for those that don't, she chooses not to listen to them, trusting her own perceptions of herself instead of others.
This is what she tells her clients to do too. Find a hobby, something they're confident in, whether it be a sport, an art, a movement. Something to join that influences your life in a positive way. And she tells them to continue it, no matter what.
Sometimes it works.
Sometimes it doesn't.
She knows not everyone can erase pessimistic feelings they have for themselves, but they can try. And the best she can do is to never forget that she is worth more than she thought, and to try to help others feel that way about themselves too.